We're talking here about leptin, and leptin is the most important hormone that you've never heard of. So what leptin does is it comes up into the brain around midnight and it tells your brain how much energy the body has available. So how much body fat percent is there, what kind of sugar you have stored in the muscles and in the liver, what kind of muscle mass you have in your body. So your brain takes all that aggregate information and then starts making important decisions about how it's going to use and spend its energy. So is there enough energy to heal? Is there enough energy to repair? Is there enough energy to recharge? So what happens is if leptin can't dock appropriately around midnight, your brain just kind of automatically assumes, I do not have the right energy available, and it goes into lockdown mode because it's like, I don't know if I have this energy, it doesn't want to spend it and utilize it for those resources. So this is hugely problematic. So the first thing is, again, your body isn't going to heal well. If your brain is in lockdown mode, it's not devoting its energy to things like healing and repair. Second thing, your body's not going to make energy very efficiently. So again, when we're in lockdown mode, we're not really caring about showing up and thriving in our day. It's all about lockdown mode and survival. So your brain isn't devoting resources and activating the metabolic pathways that are responsible for recharging and giving you that energy. So if you're feeling like you're pulling through the day or you're not waking up with good energy, this could be something to consider. The third thing that happens is your brain says, well, I'm not sure if I have energy, so I'm going to do whatever I can in this survival-based mode to get as much energy into my body as quickly as possible. So what this means is you start having cravings, usually the sugary variety, because again, that's going to be a quick hit of energy for the body, and the brain's like, I need to get my body more energy. You may not feel satiated even if you eat a big meal. So your body, again, is like, I want to get as much into my body energy-wise as possible. I'm going to eat as much as possible. You may feel like you always want something sweet at the end of the meal. You may be hard to lose weight, and it may feel like you don't have the energy that you want to exercise. So the last thing that happens is if this continually happens night in and night out, your metabolism starts to get confused and it starts to stress out the thyroid. So your thyroid is like, man, I need to start generating energy too. So it's doing whatever it can and it's working overtime and it gets tired over time. So this can lead to thyroid issues, which can go to either side of the equation. You may end up overweight or underweight. So what happens? Like what's going on with leptin? Why would it get messed up in the first place? Well, we're going to dive more into this in future videos, but two of the key players in this equation are cortisol and insulin. These are two hormones that a lot of us have heard of, and they're both tied really directly to not only what we're eating, and not even so much what we're eating, but when we're eating is super important. So some key takeaway points is that eating at the right time is super important, because whenever we eat and we're digesting, we're going to get elevated cortisol, we're going to get elevated insulin. So if we're eating at times of the day, especially towards the end of the day when leptin's trying to start to come into the equation, and if we're eating late in the day, that can mess up how our leptin is docking into our brain. Other thing that can happen is if we're eating a ton throughout the day, like if we're snacking a lot, we're constantly eating, then we're constantly having these high spikes of cortisol and insulin. Cortisol and insulin as your body's digesting. So if we do this over time, again, this can come into play with how leptin is docking into the brain and how your brain is perceiving how much energy is available in the body. The last thing is that under eating or fasting too often. So again, there's a balance with all this here, but if we're getting into those modes too often, again, your body is really spiking its cortisol and insulin to provide more blood sugar into the body. And again, that's going to have an impact on your leptin. So we need to have a clear understanding of how cortisol and insulin work. This is going to be one of the things we dive into in our upcoming videos. And again, the big takeaways that I wanted you to get from this video is that leptin is a super important hormone. It plays a huge role in our metabolism and our healing. And it has a direct interaction with cortisol and insulin, which is largely based on the timing of our eating. So again, there's so much conversation about what we're eating. The timing may be even more important than that. So stay tuned for future videos. We're going to talk about exactly what that looks like, and we'll make sure you have that information to start making some of these decisions for yourself.